Imagine living every day with purpose, clarity, and unstoppable momentum towards your health and well-being goals. In today's video, we'll show how to create a life vision that's not just inspiring, but also a practical roadmap to achieve ultimate balance in your mind, body, and spirit. Before I go there, I want to tell you a story. Early on, when I was trying to become a professional speaker, I went out to many public schools to speak to kids. And one of my main questions, and my talk was really about a plan for your life. And I would always ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? To which most kids had absolutely no idea and had most likely had never asked these questions to themselves. Like, what do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And some of them had some ideas, right? And they were kind of vague. It was interesting, the younger the kid, the more things they wanted to do. And so anywhere from first to third grade, kids wanted to be doctors, lawyers, play in the NBA, and they had all these things. They were dreamers, right? And I could appreciate that. But as I got into the bigger, working with the bigger kids, speaking to the bigger kids in 5th grade and above, the vast majority of them had very, very vague ideas of what they wanted to do with their lives. And you're probably thinking, well, when you're young, you don't know yet. But the truth is, when I was coming up and I was playing soccer at a very young age, and I believe this to be a blessing, I knew I wanted to play soccer. I knew that was my lifelong dream. And the minute I understood that, a lot of things came to fruition for me very quickly, to the point where at the age of 17, I got to travel to Europe. I brought most of my dreams to fruition. My career ended at the age of 24 for other unfortunate reasons, but the truth is I got there so quickly because I had the components that I want to speak with you about today. And I truly believe that in order for you to create a masterpiece of a life, for you to actually live on purpose, for you to be fulfilled and have joy in your life, you need to have clarity. Now, clarity is not all you need, right? Because I believe clarity is potential power, meaning that clarity is just a goal. And clarity is being able to say, I want to do X, Y, Z. But the problem is that's where most people end. I see many people that come to my program and say, hey, JT, I need to lose 25, 30 pounds. That's their goal, but that's as far as they go. And that's the reason, for the most part, that they've been yo-yo dieters. They've tried all these different diets. They've worked with all these coaches, and nothing has worked long-term because it just has been one particular goal that's based on a metric. I want to lose 25 or 50 or 100 pounds, and that's it. That's where it ends. So I truly believe that any component, any lasting component, if you're looking to bring your goals to fruition, especially in this area of fitness, it has to be a little bit more systematic and complex. And so let me explain. You need clarity. You need to understand exactly that you need to have a clear picture on what you want, right? Maybe you think, well, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds, but do you know exactly what that looks like for you, specific to you? Because that's another big challenge I encounter all the time with goals. I see people that want things, but they're usually adopting someone else's goal. They saw a piece of clothing that looks good on XYZ. Now they want to go buy it, but they don't understand that that person was 6'1" while they're 5'8", and it's going to look radically different on them. So they're adopting other people's goals. You need your very own goal. It's okay to look around. It's okay to get inspired, but the goal needs to be realistic for you. And realistic doesn't mean that you can't dream big. It just simply means that you need to really own that goal yourself. Second to that is you need a very strong why. What do I mean by a why? A why is something that pulls on your heartstrings. A why is something that's going to keep you consistent when things get hard, because I can tell you right now that any journey, right? Any journey, especially things that are worth it, get to a point of what I call the valley of despair. And this is the point where you feel like giving up, you feel like turning around, going in the opposite direction, or finding a different vehicle to get you there simply because you encountered friction or adversity. Most of us have experienced this, and I can tell you right now that the people that get over to the other side and actually bring their goals to fruition are people that have a heartfelt why, something that really, really pulls on their heartstrings. I don't know what it is for you. Maybe it's a health scare. Maybe you went to the doctors, you got a bad report, and that scared the living lights out of you, and that was enough to get you on the straight path, right? Maybe family is important to you, right? And maybe there's a history of people dying in your family because they never took care of themselves, because they didn't eat right, because they were sedentary. And so now you have this fuel in your belly to really push forward and leave behind a family legacy. That is a strong, very strong why, especially if someone in your family you really, really loved and cared for died at an early age because they didn't take care of their body. Maybe it's a spiritual conviction. Maybe you are a person of faith and you're able to connect your goals to a spiritual conviction. In other words, let me explain. As a Christian, I believe that temple stewardship is a spiritual discipline. I don't see that any different than any other of my spiritual disciplines, like fasting and praying and doing my devotional time and reading the Word of God and meditating on the Word of God. I see my physical activity at the gym and the way I actually eat as one of my spiritual disciplines, because I'm called to have self-control, to be sober-minded. So that's very strong for me. It's a very strong why that keeps me on the straight and narrow, and I always stay consistent with my plan because I've connected that to a very, very strong why. And that's ultimately what will bring sustainability, is a very strong why, something that pulls on your heartstrings. One of the fastest and easiest ways to do this is to practice what I call the seven levels deep. 7 levels deep is a little complicated to explain, especially over such a short video like this, because I want to keep it short and sweet. But the idea behind 7 levels deep is that you're asking yourself 7 sequential questions that piggyback off of each other. And so, for example, why do you want to lose weight? Question number 1. The person answers, well, I want to feel healthy. What's important about being healthy? Well, you know, my parents weren't healthy, and because of that, they died at an early age. Why is that important to you? Well, because I have kids and I want to be around for my kids. Why is being around for your kids important? Well, because I didn't grow up with parents, and because I didn't grow up with parents, I have all of these traumas and, you know, and all these lack of XYZ in my life, and I don't want that for my kids. And you get the point. So you're going to piggyback off of every other question until you get to 7 levels deep. I believe when you get to that 7th question, you really understand at a deep level why you're doing what you're doing. But it takes you really digging deep for 7 questions. All you're doing is piggybacking off of that question until you get to question number 7. You find that strong why that's going to push you through, that strong why that's going to keep you consistent, and I believe that that's what is needed. So once again, to recap, once you have in front of you, you have the clarity, you have your heartfelt conviction, that why that's going to keep you sustainable. You've done those 7 questions. You understand at a deep level why you're doing what you're doing. You actually write that out, right? You write your goals out visually, so you have them there before you. You can see them, right? You're practicing your daily habits, because you can't just have clarity. You have to have daily habits that you can execute on every single day, regardless of what your emotions of. So you're waking up early, you're doing your cardio, you're doing your fitness routine, you're eating your meals. You have that consistently there before you, and then you have accountability around it. You either hire a coach, or if you can't hire a coach right now, maybe you set some alarms that remind you to do what you need to do. Then I believe that is going to bring a ton of consistency. Is ultimately going to provide a fulfilling life for you. You're going to bring your goals to fruition, and you're going to be very, very satisfied. And I believe that spills over into all areas of your life in a very powerful way. And of course, this requires a growth mindset. And I believe that if you do every single one of the steps that I just mentioned, you're going to start developing that growth mindset, and your life will never be the same. My friend, I hope you do everything I mentioned in this video. I hope you put it to action. I know if you do, you're going to experience a growth mindset, you're going to find sustainability, you're going to bring your goals to fruition, and you're going to be very, very happy. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. If we're not friends yet and you haven't subscribed to this channel, you already know what to do. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.